Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, it's time to steer away from the novels and we're going to review some short stories. The first one is The Hearing. It was written by Michael Allen Horn and it was in the Dark Empire source book. Now this one talks about Manco Spence being kicked out of the academy, basically an accounting of this. Now, yeah, you could have read this before you read the Han Solo second book by A.C. Crispin, The Hutt's Gambit, but I just kind of put it here to group a bunch of short stories together. When I got the Dark Empire source book, I was not expecting it to have a little short story in there. And I remember when I was buying them, I was just buying everything from West End Games at the time. I was trying to build my West End Games collection. And I would read through each book. And then I said, oh, this one had a little story in it. Ooh, I wonder what others did. Not many other source books did, but that one did, and I was really happy to read it. Is it anything big or detrimental? No, it just tells you a little bit more about Manco Spence, just a little insight into him, a story about his character. That's basically all it is. You're not missing anything if you skip that and read the actual comic book for which the source book was based upon. After that, it's time to go to the adventure journals once again and read the short story Passages by Charlene Newcomb. Now this was in Star Wars Adventure Journal number 7, and it starts off as the Imperials are trying to track down a deserter on a freighter ship. And, do they catch them? This story actually ties in, again, to Newcomb's Alex Winger series. She had her own little sandbox within the Adventure Journal when she was writing stories. And so this is one that happens before Alex Winger grows up. In fact, it's featuring her dad, Matt. Now, what did I think about the Star Wars Expanded Universe character that shared my first name? I mean, it was okay. It was all right. There's nothing good or bad. If you're into the Alex Winger series by Charlene Newcomb, you'll like this. If you're a fan of her writing, I know she did have a group of fans who followed her stories from the Adventure Journals religiously. They just loved her stuff. So, in this one, it's just basically kind of a prequel to everything about her father. It was okay. I was super happy that there was a guy named Matt in the Expanded Universe. I think he should have had his own novels and TV series. That's just me though. Now I need you to stay into the Adventure Journals because there's another story in Volume 2 called Out of the Cradle by Patricia Jackson. Now this one focuses on Drake Paulson, who's a young smuggler who's going to get who gets inspected by Imperials. Ooh, will he get away? It's just another short adventure where nothing much happens. With Patricia Jackson, she does, once again, a good job in incorporating stuff from West End Games. Socorro, the planet, is mentioned. If you don't know what Socorro is, you can Wikipedia it sometime, but it was a cool little idea for a planet, kind of Tatooine-ish like, that was invented by West End Games at the time. So she's incorporating worlds from West End Games into the Adventure Journal by West End Games. I think that's only appropriate. And the story, like I said, is okay. Like a lot of Patricia Jackson stuff, it's pretty good. Now this last short story I am extremely excited to talk to you about. It was written by Stephen Kent and it's called Pax Empirica, Wookiee Annihilation. Let that settle in for a minute. Pax Empirica, Wookiee Annihilation. With a title like that, how could you not want to read this? But where do you go to read this short story? In a very unbelievable place. The Galactic Battlegrounds Official Strategy Guide. Yeah, what this focuses on is Colonel Wason Dower's debriefing of the infiltration of the Wookiee planet Kashyyyk. And no, this is not episode 3 stuff. And in fact, it happens later. So it is possible that the Imperials, said, hey, these Wookiees, they're getting a little uppity. We need to come and slam them down again. This is just a short story that the official guide put in its very first chapters, just this short story. Incredible, unbelievable. It talks about the dense foliage, people getting knocked off, walkers or whatnot, and falling, screaming into the jungle and then being silenced. their screams being silenced as they hit the jungle floor. Ooh! It's kind of dark, a little gritty, and I love it. I knew nothing about this short story until I read Pablo's Guide to the Expanded Universe. He actually put that in there. And while I was looking it over, I was like, wait a minute. You mean the official strategy guide of a video game has a short story? Well, yeah, I gotta buy it. And it was actually pretty fun. Now, I got this for like 1 penny. I paid more for shipping on it than I did anything else, but I got it for like 1 cent. And so it was well worth my time. I remember reading it. This is at the 2012, 2013, beginning of 2013, I guess, and reading it going, wow, this is really good for a, official strategy guide to have a short story in it. Really cool. Stephen Kent does a good job. And remember, this was all written before the prequels were even thought about. And one of the interesting things that he writes in this book is that, or the short story, I should say, is that 40% of the Imperial Navy are clones. Now, I'm not saying that he had foresight into what the prequels would look like, because Attack of the Clones wasn't even out at this time. I'm just saying he had the foresight to think, hey, maybe if there was a Clone Wars, wouldn't there be clones in the Imperial Navy? No one really knew what the Clone Wars would be like, but Stephen Kent guessed it right. And he said, yeah, now at this point, there's 40% that are clones. They're made from one template. Didn't say anything about Jango Fett or anything. And then called them Genos or something, like that was the name for the clones. And the thing is, though, that's okay, that terminology may have changed. This is almost, 20 years later. In fact, there's not really a timestamp on this, so that's why I'm putting it right here, because it seems like, Grand Moff Tarkin is mentioned in it, but that's about it. But obviously the events of Episode 4 haven't happened yet either. So it's somewhere in between that time, and I think putting it in this timeline right here would be perfect. But the book is actually pretty interesting, and you kind of sit up in your seat and going, wow, this really came close to fitting perfectly with the prequels. And this is a pre-prequel short story. So that things match up just perfectly. Yes, it was by accident, but it still happened. Once again, showing continuity within the expanded universe. Unbelievable. Sometimes we can fall standing up. All right, folks, that is all the time I have for now. I'll see you next time with another video.